not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck. So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just like scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments like, how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Like typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was like away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by like hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. Like the tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be like right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave him a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of like where the tree was growing, they see like a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago because the bones of the baby's skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just like moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid. There was no like steps walking. It sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time, the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day, the mom and daughter get into a really big fight. And I mean, they were screaming at each other, like they were going at it, and the daughter ends up going to her room and like slamming the door, and mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, apologize, and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed, and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. Oh my god, look at my heart. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her, and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest. As she's telling her, get up and let's go, baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back. Didn't go back to investigate. Didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point, it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand, and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex, who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like it was fucked up in my dream. Okay, so the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess it like I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story.
We listen, we don't get scared, and we don't judge. Let me tell you guys my friend's Blessa horror story. So this girl was a little bit older than me, you know. I was probably like 19, she was 23, and she was dating a 45-year-old man, right? Sharp. When everything started, it was all glitz and glam. It was beautiful. He used to give her money, all in the name of sleeping with her. That's all he wanted. No relationship, nothing. He used to give her money. He used to buy her stuff. If her phone broke, if she wants the latest iPhone, she gets it. If she wants the latest Steve Madden, she gets it. So it was nice. It was cute on photos, but crazy in the background. So this went on for like a year, you know, and they were doing this for like a year, and I was also getting the benefits, because when she had money, she would call me sometimes and I would go to her. Hello. I wasn't judging her, because even if I told her to stop, if she wanted to do it, she could do it, like she is an adult, you know. Until one day I did not see her for a good 2 weeks, and I thought, the first week I thought maybe she's on vacation with her man, because usually he takes her out on those. It could be a random Wednesday, and because she didn't work, she would go with this man and they would come back like the following week. Like, I was used to it. But the second week I was like, you know what, let me just go check on her, because she doesn't really use her phone much sometimes, you know, let me just go check on her. So I knocked on the door. Her mom knew that I was her friend, and she was like, I was like, hey, knock knock, where's so and so, you know the gist when you go to somebody's house. And her mom laughed a little and she was like, go to her room and see what's going on. I go inside the room, and when I tell you, I was met by a smell first, this horrible smell first, and I was like, you know, and her mom was right behind me and she didn't say anything, and I was like, what is in here? You know, it smelled like a decomposing body. Okay, I've never smelled a decomposing body before, but people say that the smell is really terrible. You know, it's something that you've never smelled before. I walk inside the room and I see that there's somebody on the bed, thin as hell. So I'm thinking, is that her? Like, that can't be her. She was not that thin. I seen her 2 weeks ago. When I walk closer and closer, the smell is getting worse. It's a smell that's just coming out of her body. She smells like a dead person. Also, she's facing the other way, you know. So when I get there, I'm like, and her mom is like, don't be scared. She's like, so-and-so, your friend is here to see you. She turns around and she looks at me and she looks old. She's wrinkled. I don't know who this person is. So I greet her. I'm like, hey, like, I greet her in the most uncomfortable way, but I was trying to show her that I was trying to be comfortable, but I was uncomfortable and you could read it on my face. I speak to her, whatever, and I ask her what happened, and her mom leaves. And she's like, girl, do you remember that blesser that I had? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, what happened? She's like, that man had a snake. The first 3 months of their relationship, she was sleeping with that man. But after that, the man introduced her to his snake and was like, listen, if you want your life to continue the way that it's continuing, you have to sleep with the snake, because if you stop, everything is going to stop. And also, you are going to go back to the old life. Like, he was just convincing her. And she agreed. She agreed, and she was sleeping with the snake for a good year. When I tell you this was going on for a year, she slept with the snake for a good year. And on a random Tuesday, she says she started falling sick. She says on a random Tuesday, it started with a smell, and she thought it was an infection. From infection, day by day, it kept on getting worse. She started getting thin. She started vomiting. They once took her to a hospital, and this blesser paid for her fees. She lied and said she had a medical aid, but this blesser continued to fund her, even though she was like this. I feel like he knew exactly what he did. He knew. And she says she was at the hospital the week before, whatever. And she flips over the cover that she had on. Woo! The smell that came out, that was just worse. And then there were worms that were coming out, green maggots. I've never seen a green maggot in my life, and I saw it coming out of her. It was horrible. It was scary. Were coming out. They were literally coming out of a hoo-ha. Like, I went like this and I could see. And I was like, bro, what is going on? Mind you, they were eating on her thighs. She says no matter what they try, nothing is happening. They went to prophets. They keep on giving her stuff. Nothing is happening. Like, she's been to at least five prophets in the last week, because when she came out of the hospital, it's like, girl, this is so damn traumatizing. And that's when I realized that when I walked in, her mom had lost a little bit of weight. It's because of this. And I was like, so what's going to happen now? And she's like, basically, she's just waiting for her death day, because they went to a witch doctor. So there are people out there in this world that specialize in strictly witchcraft. They don't do the healing people, and also they specialize strictly in witchcraft, and they heal people sometimes. So they went to him and he laughed. She says when they got there, he laughed and he threw the whatever. He didn't throw bones. He threw whatever he threw, and he told them that you have a few days to live. When you started dealing with this blesser, first of all, when he was sleeping with you personally, he was taking away your youth. When you were sleeping with the blesser, not the snake, right? He was taking away your youth. He was also taking away your blessings. And then when you started sleeping with the snake took a big bite. The blesser took a small bite. The snake took a big bite, and you didn't realize it. But these things were long happening, and you just didn't realize it because you were getting money. And so now that everything that they want from you is gone, and you look old, you have the stench, you have this, you have that, it's because they are done with you. The blesser may help you, but they know that your spirit was too weak. That's why you're where you are. So they told her, like, the guy told them that there's nothing that he can do. If other people that you guys went to failed, what do you think I'm going to do? Because I deal with these things. Obviously, you see with people, they never tell you the consequences of the things that they're doing. And so, yeah. When I tell you, I spoke to that girl that day. Let's say it was a Wednesday. By Friday, I heard the news that she was no more. And to think that I felt a little guilty, that maybe if I had put a little bit more pressure, she wouldn't be where she was. But yeah, that happened. That is crazy. If you're a girl in high school and you think that this blessed life is all glitz and glam, it is not. Nobody's going to tell you the bad of what's going on. They're just going to be showing the Gucci sides because they act like they're working. Auntie, they have blessings in the background, and maybe their spirits are strong, or they go to strong prophets, witch doctors, whatever. Watch out before you do things, because these things of people having snakes and stuff is very much real.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know?
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
Got a very, very, very scary story to tell you now, and it just shows don't trust anybody. So this girl, I'm going to call her Katie, she was in a very abusive relationship with her boyfriend. She was living with him. She was miles away from home. She'd moved in with him just recently. The only person that she knew in the town was her brother, who lived a few miles away. So she said one evening her and her boyfriend got into a really, really bad argument, and he was beginning to get physical, so she just ran out of the apartment. And she said she kept running, and then she got to a bar, and she went into the bar and she went and got herself a drink. So she was basically going to get drunk. She was just going to sit there, drown her sorrows, and just, you know, try and contemplate how she's going to get out of this relationship. So she said she sat there for about half an hour when this girl comes and sits next to her, and we're going to call this girl Maggie. So this girl starts talking to Katie, and she says, "Are you okay?" She just starts general chit chat. "You know, I can see you're not in a good place, blah, blah, blah." She offers to buy her drink. Katie accepts the drink, and they have a nice evening. They're chatting. Anyway, it's getting really, really late, and Katie says to Maggie, "Thanks for the chat. I'm going to have to go now. I need to go home." Maggie says, "Don't walk, not at night, not when you're drunk. I'll drive you." Anyway, so they go find Maggie's car. They get in, they're chatting. Maggie turns the car on, but they go a different way. So Katie just reminds her, and she just says, "I'm this way, not this way." And she says, "Don't worry, I'm just going to go and pick up my friend Josh." Katie says, "Who's Josh?" And she said, "It's just my mate. I'm going to pick him up, and then we're going home, and I'll drop you then on the way." So Katie sits back, relaxes, and they just carry on chatting. They pick Josh up. Josh gets into the back seat, and he seems really, really nice. And they're chatting, having a laugh. Josh seems actually really, really funny. So they turn the car around, and Maggie's driving, and then Katie said suddenly the atmosphere starts to change, and Maggie is not as friendly as she was. She starts to go a bit quiet, and Katie just assumes that this is because she's maybe just tired. Anyway, they get to Katie's neighbourhood, and Maggie doesn't stop the car. And Katie says, "This is my stop. You can drop me here, and I can just walk round the corner." Maggie again doesn't say anything and doesn't stop the car. So now Kate is starting to freak out, and she says her heart is starting to pound, and she's knowing now that something, it really isn't right. So now she's panicking, and she says to Maggie, "Please stop the car, I can get out here." And then from the back, Josh says to her, "Shut the F up." And Kate is like, "What?" And he says again, "Shut the F up." So they keep driving, and basically Katie is freaking out, panicking. Her heart is going. She knows she's in a dangerous situation. Anyway, they keep driving. They get to this dirt road, and they turn off. Kate is looking around, and she can see there's like open fields, and there's like a woodland area. And she's thinking, "I don't know where I am." Maggie then stops the car, turns it off, and turns herself to look at Katie. And she basically says, "Get out of the car." Katie just looks at her and smiles and sort of laughs a little nervously and says, "What?" And then Maggie says it again, "Get out of the car," really firmly this time. And Katie's like, "I don't know whether this is a prank, but okay." So she says she gets out the car, and she slowly walks around to the bonnet area of the car, and she's just stood there for a second, not really knowing what to do. And then Maggie and Josh get out of the car. And it's then that Katie realises that something really, really wrong is happening here, because she looks down at Maggie's hand, and Maggie is holding a little sort of pen knife. This is so scary. She then says that Maggie comes up to her holding this knife up and basically says to her, "You've got 30 seconds. And Katie says, 30 seconds for what? She said, "You got 30 seconds to run." And Katie is like freaking out. And then Katie sort of looks round at Josh, and Josh isn't smiling. He's just looking and staring at her, and he's got like a flashlight in his hand. And she thinks, "I need to run." So she said she runs, and she runs really, really fast. Faster, she said, than she's ever run in her life. She didn't even know how she did it because she had stupid boots on, but she ran. And she said she didn't know how long she was running. It seemed like forever, but then she could hear them running behind her. They could hear them laughing. They could hear them screeching and screaming after her. She could hear them saying, "We're going to get you, Katie." So Katie is like freaking out, frightened, crying, but still running for her literal life. She said she gets to this really fast-flowing river, but she said she's not a strong swimmer. So she's looking around thinking, what can I get into? Where can I hide? And from the grace of God, there is a hollowed out log. So she said she gets into this hollowed out log. Who knows what's in it? Could be a bloody animal or anything. But she says she gets in, she doesn't care. And she just sits there, huddled up as tight as she can. And she can hear them coming. And they're calling her name. They're mocking her. They're saying, we're going to find you. They're just generally loving this. They're getting a thrill out of it. Anyway, she can hear them just a few feet away, and Maggie's saying, I'm going to go up there and search. You stay around here. Josh is saying, I don't think she's gone across that river. I don't think she would have done. So he said, I'm going to stay here. I'll look around this area. He didn't even see the log. Katie said she's just waiting for her body or her voice to make some silly sound like a scary movie, and then he would drag her out. But luckily she didn't. She said she just sat there, so quiet, listening to every breath that she was trying not to make. She said she must have been in there ages, because she actually said she fell asleep in this log. Got to remember, she was drunk. So she said she woke up and it was actually daylight, and she was sat there just listening to see if she could hear anything. But she said she couldn't hear anybody, so she slowly ventured out. She said she was so scared that they would be there waiting for her, but they weren't. So she said she got out this log and she just ran and ran and ran until she got to the main road, and there is when she got a signal on her phone and she was able to call her brother. She said she called her brother came and collected her. They went straight to the police station, and mind-blowing.
This photographer had one of the spookiest experiences in Louisiana. He says, you ever seen something that shouldn't exist? I am back with another spooky story. So in 2017, Michael, who's a photographer, was working on a documentary about abandoned places in Louisiana. So he'd been driving down this old highway on Baton Rouge when suddenly his GPS just started going crazy. The signal was flickering in between coordinates that just didn't make sense. And then his car just dies, just like that. And he had no service, no way to call for help, so Michael just started walking. And he says that's when he saw the town. Michael says it wasn't on any map and it definitely shouldn't have been there. He said he saw these small wooden houses. The windows were dark and empty, gas lamps that were flickering, even though there were no power line. Michael says that this whole place just felt wrong. Too quiet, like it was something waiting. Then Michael saw them. The people. He said that they were dressed in old-fashioned clothes, the kind that you'd see in history books. He says long dresses, suspenders, top hats, but their faces were blank. No expressions, just blank. He says these people's facial expressions is giving robotic. So Michael then turns to leave. However, the road that he had just taken was gone. It mysteriously disappeared. And this is when someone approached him and says, you're not supposed to be here. And as he's looking around, he notices this big mansion. It was this mansion that was sitting at the edge of town that looked like it had been rotting for centuries. The windows were boarded up, but Michael says that he could just feel that there was something inside. And whatever it was watching. Michael says he walks closer to the mansion, and that's when he saw it. He says in the second floor window was his reflection. Michael says his reflection, but not quite. It looked like him, but the eyes were black and his teeth were too sharp, and it was smiling. When suddenly Michael hears a voice saying, he's waiting for you. I know you guys hate part 2s, but I'm gonna have to because I have to get to work. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me on Instagram or TikTok. And before I go, can I just take a brief moment for the lips? Can we admire for a little bit? Oh, this is what I use to line my lips. And you get a variety of different colors too. I was using like the darkest one that they have, like the darkest brown. And as you can see, and for every video, I'm gonna try a new lip liner. I'm gonna just link these in the video just in case you want it. You could just click it and put it in your cart, girl. Anyway, like I said, every single video, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl.
This one is honestly one of the creepiest ones I've read so far, and I definitely think y'all should take a listen. This happened to a girl named Emily the first weekend her parents left town. They went on vacation Friday night. Emily stayed home for the first time. She was excited, ordered pizza around 10:30, same place her family always used to, and the app said out for delivery. A few minutes later, Emily got a text, not from the app, but from a random number. It said, "On my way, blue car." She thought it was weird, but didn't think much of it. The doorbell rang, and the delivery guy was standing super close to the door. He smiled and said, "Hey, Emily." She froze. Her name wasn't on the order, so she just laughed it off. Maybe her parents were regulars? He handed her the pizza and said, "Enjoy the quiet tonight." That's when her stomach dropped. Emily never mentioned she was home alone. She locked the door and checked the receipt. The name on the order wasn't hers. It was Ryan, a guy who used to come over sometimes, someone her parents trusted, someone she considered a family friend. Then she heard footsteps, not leaving, moving around the house. Her phone buzzed again. Same number. "I forgot your drink." She didn't order a drink. That's when the back door handle started to move. Slow, but careful. Like someone testing it. Emily ran into the bedroom and locked the door. Her heart was pounding. And then the doorknob began to turn. Slowly. Like whoever was on the other side knew exactly where she was. Alright, this is getting really good, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but I'm gonna have to make this video is getting too long, so if y'all want to check out the second part 2's coming, get ready. It gets really bad.
What the fuck was that? Bro,
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Hey chat, get ready with me while I talk about a very, very traumatizing church experience that literally just happened to me last year. And before I do start the story, I just want to say that I'm very much over it and I'm very much healed from it. But it was still very traumatizing nonetheless and kind of blew the heck out of me. And I kind of want to talk about it because why not? So last year in 2024, in May, my grandmother passed away. R.I.P. to the GOAT. R.I.P. to the GOAT. And so my grandmother, we've been going to the same church. Well, I've been at that church literally since birth. And she's been going to that church since forever, like 30 plus years. She's been at this church. So, you know, this is my church home. This is my church I've grown up with. Like, I know everybody there. Like, you know, it's my church. So she passed, blah, blah, blah. Really sad, very traumatic. I'm not going to get into that part. But she passed, we had her funeral, whatever. About a month and a half after she passed is when this traumatic experience occurred. So I was at church one day and this lady, she's like new to our church, so I don't really know her very well, but like, you know, she was very like spiritual, I don't know what country she was from, and I don't want to like, you know, be insensitive to her nationality, or sorry, whatever, but she wasn't from America. I'm just gonna I think she was like from Africa or something. Guys, don't shoot me, I don't know, but she had a very, very heavy, I think she was from Jamaica the whole time, but I don't know 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure because I never really asked. And then after this incident happened, I definitely wasn't about to ask this woman where she was from, because girl, I don't even care anymore. Also, y'all, I'm really bad at get ready with me. It's like I talk too much and I'll be forgetting to do steps, so bear with me. So like I said, this was about a month and a half after my grandmother passed, and I took her death very hard, obviously, because my grandmother was my rock, she was my everything, whatever. So, and I was still going to church very faithfully. Like, I did not miss a beat of church, because, you know, that was the only thing that was keeping me grounded, or so I thought. So I was always going to church, and this one day in particular, I go into the church, you know, my spirits are high, and also, don't want to get too deep into that. This is another story, but whenever I go to my church, my spirit is always low. So the fact that this day in particular, my spirit was high, I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to be a great day. You know, I was feeling it, you know? Yeah. That didn't last very long. So like I said, I'm walking in the church, spirits are high, I'm excited, you know? I'm like, oh, today's going to be a decent day. And this lady, she stops me and she's like, oh, hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm good considering what just happened to me. You know, I'm decent. You know, I'm as good as anyone would be after like the most traumatic thing in the world happened to them. Right? Like, what do you want? No shade. Like, what do you want? And I just want to point out, like, at this time in my life, like, yes, I was still heavy in my faith, but I was also falling off, and I was doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to say what it was, because, you know, but just know that I was doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, but that was the only way I knew how to cope. So yeah, I started doing really bad things to cope with my grandmother's death. Sue me. So she's like, asking me how I'm doing. I'm really confused because, mind you, this lady has like never talked to me before. So it's like, okay, I tell her how I'm doing, and out of nowhere, this woman, she's talking to me, right? And she's like, you need to stop living the life that you're living if you ever want to see your grandmother again. When I tell y'all, I look at this woman and I'm like, what? Like, she literally had me so blue, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what life am I living? Like, please. So I'm baffled, and my friend, she's like sitting across the aisle from me, so she can't really hear what she's saying, but like you can kind of see my reaction to what she said to me, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? And then she continues, and she's like, yeah, if you'll never see your grandmother again if you keep living the way you're living. And I'm just shook, because also in the same breath, little side part of me, I have a really big fear of death and literally a big fear of the end in general. So her telling me that literally triggered something in me, and I was like, oh, period. And I just said, oh, okay, and I just walked away because I'm like, guys, I'm scared. Like, please, where's a trusted adult? I'm terrified. So you think that's the end of the story? No, it happens again. It happens again the same day. So mind you, I'm going through the day like with that in my head, like, oh, that's kind of freaky, but I'm gonna ignore it because maybe she's just here to scare me, maybe that really wasn't God. I don't know. Like, I'm starting to question, not God, but I'm starting to question, like, what is she talking about? Because A, how do you know that I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing? And B, why would that be the way that you went about saying that? Like, I was freshly not even 18 yet. I was 17 still. Like, I know that's not like young, but that's young enough for what happened to me. That happened. I'm young. I'm a child at the end of the day. Like, no matter how close I was to 18, I was still a kid. And you said that to me confidently, and then got shocked when I didn't reciprocate it well. Lady, you just told me that I was never going to see my grandma again. She literally just died. Like, you couldn't have waited a year or something. But it happened again. But, like, quick pause on the story. Y'all, I love this blush. This is, like, my favorite blush. It's T.O.B., the lip bar blush. So sexy. Okay. So, guys, during service, so we had, like, an extended service this day. Like, it was, like, a special day or whatever. So we had, like, our service was a little longer than usual. And after the service, the lady, she gets up. I guess she asked my pastor's permission to get up and talk. She gets up in front of the entire church and talks directly to me. She's like, yes, the Lord told me if she keeps living the way that she's living, she will never see her grandmother again, in front of the entire church. So at this point, I'm literally shaking because I'm like, this can't be real. And I also recorded it. I don't know, that's kind of messy. I might post the clip. I don't know, that's messy. But I recorded it because this is my life, and no one will believe me if I just tell them the story straight up. Like, no one will believe that this happened to me. And I will say, very much, don't mind my nails, ignore that, but very much tease to the person who stood up for me and ended up getting kicked out of the church. Are we serious? Like, that enraged me so bad. Like, how does the person who was standing up and defending me against this woman who was literally telling a 17-year-old child whose grandmother just passed away that she was never going to see her again, and apparently she was in the right, and the entire church just started clapping and praising God. So yeah, fast forward to now. Oh my god, I got that in my mouth. Wait. Okay, Dad, I literally sprayed my setting spray in my mouth. But fast forward to now. I still go to that church, but I'm actually planning on leaving. But I'm not gonna speak too much on that because, I haven't left yet. So once I leave, I'll speak freely. And also, I haven't seen that woman in a while, so I don't know what happened to her. And I pray she's okay, but like really traumatized me, not gonna lie. And if I want to hear more church stories, please believe me that I have church stories for literal days. So yeah. Okay guys, the look is done. But yeah, thank y'all for listening to my little story. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And if I want to hear more church stories, like I said, let me know, because I have stories for days and I have receipts. Because girl, one thing for certain, two things for sure, I'm always gonna record, because yeah. Anyway, bye guys.